Welcome back to Paranightmares, where the night whispers and we listen. If creepy tales and unsettling shadows are your kind of lullaby, you're in the right place. Before we descend into tonight's darkness, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're from and what time you're watching. After you finish the video, let us know which part made your skin crawl most. I'm watching, and I read everyone. The hum of my laptop fan was the only sound in my cramped apartment, its glow casting jagged shadows across the peeling wallpaper. It was 12:37 a.m., and I was restless, my eyes burning from a long day at the call center, where endless customer complaints had left my nerves frayed. I'd been scrolling Craigslist's free stuff section for hours, a habit born from boredom and a vague hope of finding something to brighten my dull space. My apartment was a patchwork of thrift store finds, a sagging couch, a chipped coffee table, but it lacked character, something to make it mine. That's when I stumbled across the ad. Antique clock, needs work, free to good home. The description was sparse. A grandfather clock, stopped at 3:33, free if picked up tonight. The address was 147 Hollow Lane, a rural spot 30 minutes out, posted by someone named E. No phone number, no photos, just a cryptic urgency that piqued my curiosity. I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. It was late, and the idea of driving to the middle of nowhere for a broken clock felt reckless. But I was 29, single, and stuck in a rut, chasing small thrills to break the monotony. I typed a quick message. "Is the clock still available?" The reply came in seconds, chilling in its brevity. "Yes. Come now. Doors open." I stared at the screen, my pulse quickening. No one else was online. No friends to talk me out of it. I grabbed my keys, slipped on my worn denim jacket, and headed out. The night air biting my skin with a damp chill that smelled of rain-soaked earth. The drive to Hollow Lane was eerie, the highway giving way to a narrow dirt road flanked by dense pines, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal hands. My headlights barely pierced the darkness, catching glints of reflective eyes. Deer, I told myself, though the shapes vanished too quickly. The GPS flickered, its signal weak, but it led me to a crumbling two-story house, its paint flaking like dead skin, the windows black except for a faint amber glow in the front room. The mailbox, rusted and leaning, bore no name, just the number 147 in faded paint. I parked, my old sedan creaking as I stepped out, the gravel crunching under my boots. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of decay, rotting leaves, maybe, or something worse. The front door hung ajar, swaying slightly, its hinges groaning in the stillness. I knocked, my knuckles rapping sharply, and called. "Hello? I'm here for the clock." My voice sounded small, swallowed by the night. No answer. I pushed the door open, my phone's flashlight casting a trembling beam across a dusty foyer. The air inside was stale, tinged with a sour, metallic tang, like old blood. Cobwebs draped the corners, and the floorboards sagged under my weight. Creaking with every step, I swept the light around, revealing a cluttered living room, torn curtains, a sagging armchair, and there, in the corner, the grandfather clock. It was taller than I'd imagined, nearly 8 feet, its mahogany frame carved with intricate vines that seemed to writhe in the shadows. The clock face was cracked, the hands frozen at 3:33, the Roman numerals faded but legible. I stepped closer, my boots stirring dust that danced in the beam. The clock felt alive, its presence heavy, like it was watching me. I ran my hand along its side, the wood cold and smooth, and froze as a faint ticking echoed, not from the clock, but from somewhere deeper in the house, a slow, deliberate pulse that matched my heartbeat. I called for E again, my voice shaking now. The ticking grew louder, joined by a low hum, a vibration that crawled up my spine. The shadows in the room seemed to shift, pooling in the corners like ink, and the air grew colder, my breath fogging in front of me. I stepped back, my hand still on the clock, and felt it, a cold, fleeting touch, like fingers brushing my wrist. I yanked my hand away, my flashlight jittering, and the hum became a whisper, layered and guttural, coming from the clock itself. "Take it. It's yours." My heart slammed against my ribs. I wanted to run, to leave the clock and this house behind, but it was as if the air had thickened, holding me in place. The whisper came again, sharper. "You came for it. Take it." I don't know why I didn't flee. Maybe it was the thrill, the same reckless urge that had brought me here. I grabbed the clock, dragging it toward the door, its weight surprising, the wood scraping the floor like a scream. The ticking followed, louder, echoing in the empty house, and as I reached the car, I glanced back. The front door was wide open now, the amber glow gone, the house swallowed by darkness. I strapped the clock into the back seat, my hand shaking, and drove home, the ticking filling the car, a relentless rhythm that drowned out the engine's hum. The road seemed longer, the trees closer, their branches scraping the roof like claws. By the time I reached my apartment, my shirt was soaked with sweat. I hauled the clock inside, setting it against the living room wall, its shadow looming over my thrift store couch. The ticking stopped, the apartment silent, but the air felt wrong. Too still, too heavy, like it was waiting. I collapsed onto the couch, my eyes fixed on the clock. Its hands hadn't moved, still frozen at 3:33, but I swore I saw them twitch, a slight jerk backward. I told myself I was tired, imagining things, but the sour smell from the house clung to me, seeping into the room. I went to bed, leaving every light on, but sleep wouldn't come. The clock's presence was a weight, pressing against my thoughts, and I kept hearing that whisper, faint but clear. "It's yours." At 3:33 a.m., I jolted awake, the ticking back, louder than before, shaking the walls. I grabbed my phone, its flashlight trembling in my hand, and crept into the living room. The clock's hands were spinning backward, impossibly fast, a blur of black against the cracked face. The room was freezing, my breath clouding, and the shadows around the clock writhed, forming shapes, tall, thin, with eyes that glinted like shattered glass. The whisper returned, now a chorus, echoing in my skull. "You took it. Now you're mine." I backed away, my heart pounding, and tried the apartment door. The handle wouldn't turn. The lock jammed, as if welded shut. The ticking grew deafening, a relentless pulse that vibrated in my bones, and the shadows solidified into a figure, tall, its limbs bent at unnatural angles, its face a mosaic of cracked glass, each shard reflecting my own terrified eyes. It moved toward me, its steps silent but deliberate, and I screamed, scrambling for anything to defend myself. I grabbed a lamp, yanking it from the wall, but the figure didn't flinch, its glass-like face splintering further, revealing a void beneath. I swung the lamp, but it passed through the figure, shattering against the clock with a crash that echoed like gunfire. The figure dissolved into a cloud of dust, only to reform closer, its glass face inches from mine, the void beneath it pulsing with a darkness that seemed to pull at my soul. The whisper roared now, cacophony of voices. "You can't leave. You're mine." I ran to the kitchen, my bare feet slipping on the linoleum, and grabbed a hammer from the junk drawer. I swung at the clock, desperate to stop the ticking, but the hammer bounced off, the wood unscathed, and the figure laughed, a sound like breaking glass that clawed at my mind. I fled to the bathroom, locking the door, the hammer clutched tight. The ticking followed, echoing in the tiles, and the mirror above the sink fogged, the figure's face appearing in the glass, its shards rearranging into a distorted version of my own. I smashed the mirror, the fragments scattering, but each piece showed the figure closer, its void-like eyes swallowing the light. I sank to the floor, my back against the door, the ticking now a heartbeat in my chest, the whisper relentless. "You took it. You belong to it." I don't know how I survived that night. Dawn broke, the ticking faded, and the figure was gone, the clock silent but still there, its hands frozen again at 3:33. I tried to get rid of it, dragging it to a dumpster across town, but it was back in my apartment by evening, the ticking louder, the figure bolder. I found a Craigslist thread later, buried in a forum about cursed objects, a user warning about a clock from Hollow Lane. taken by someone who'd vanished. Their apartment filled with ticking that never stopped. I tried burning the clock, smashing it, even burying it, but it always returned, unscathed, its presence heavier each time. I moved to a motel, then another, but the ticking followed, faint at first, like a distant pulse, then louder, shaking the walls. The figure appeared in every reflective surface, windows, spoons, even my phone screen, its glass face splintering, its void eyes watching. I stopped looking at anything that shone, covering mirrors, avoiding puddles, but it was no use. The whisper was in my head now, describing my every move, my every thought, as if the clock had claimed me from the inside. I contacted a local historian, a woman who'd studied the town's darker legends. She met me in a diner, her hands trembling as she read my story. "That house," she said, her voice low. "It's been empty for decades. People go in, take things, and they don't come back. The clock, it's not just broken. It's a trap, tied to something older than the house, something that binds you when you take it." She gave me a ritual, salt, sage, a silver knife, but warned it might not work. "It's marked you," she said. "It won't let go." I tried the ritual, surrounding the clock with salt, burning sage until the smoke choked me. But the ticking only grew louder, the figure closer, its glass face now showing fragments of my life, my childhood, my fears, my secrets. I slashed the knife across my palm, offering blood to appease it, but the figure laughed, its void swallowing the light, and I felt it, tendrils of darkness creeping into my mind, pulling me toward the clock. I'm writing this from a rented room, the last of my money gone. The ticking is constant, the figure always there, its glass face reflecting my own, breaking apart piece by piece. I see it in my dreams, standing in that house, the clock's hand spinning backward, counting down to something I can't escape. I know what it wants me, inside the clock, part of its endless ticking. I've stopped running because there's nowhere left to go. The whisper is louder now, and sometimes I catch myself whispering back. My apartment was a cluttered mess, a jumble of mismatched furniture that screamed temporary. I'd been meaning to clear it out for months, but life, work, bills, the grind kept getting in the way. At 34, I was still living like a college kid, my belongings a testament to my inability to settle. The leather couch was the worst offender, a hulking, second-hand beast I'd bought cheap off a coworker, its cracked surface always carrying a faint, musty odor like damp earth after rain. I hated it, so I listed it on Craigslist at 11 p.m. Free leather couch, good condition, pick up tonight if possible, 23 Oak Street, apartment 4B. I snapped a quick photo, the flash highlighting the leather scars, and hit post, expecting a slow response. Minutes later, my inbox pinged. A username T wrote, "I'll take it. Be there soon." No questions, no haggling, just that. I frowned, the abruptness unsettling, but free was free, and I wanted the couch gone. I sipped lukewarm coffee, the apartment quiet except for the faint hum of the fridge and the distant wail of a siren outside. The clock ticked toward 12:30 a.m., and a sharp knock rattled the door. 3 quick raps, like someone impatient. I set my mug down, my stomach twisting, and opened the door. The hallway was empty, the fluorescent lights flickering, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch toward me. I leaned out, peering both ways, but the corridor was deserted, the silence heavy. "Hello," I called, my voice echoing off the cracked tiles. No answer. I shut the door, locking it, and turned back to the living room. That's when I heard it, a low, grinding scrape, like furniture being dragged across wood. My heart lurched. The couch had moved, now angled toward the door, its legs leaving faint scratches on the floor. I laughed, a nervous sound, blaming my tired eyes. I'd been up too long, stressed from work, imagining things. I pushed the couch back, its weight resisting, the leather creaking under my hands. The musty smell was stronger now, sharp and acrid, like something rotting. I stepped back, wiping my hands on my jeans, and the scrape came again, louder, the couch sliding forward an inch, then another, as if pulled by invisible hands. My breath caught, and I checked my phone. Another message from T. "I'm here. Let me in." I typed a reply. "Where are you?" But before I could send it, the door rattled again, harder, the frame shaking. I grabbed a baseball bat from my closet, my palms sweaty, and shouted, "Who's there?" The scraping intensified, the couch inching toward the door, its legs gouging the floor. The lights flickered, plunging the room into brief darkness, and a moan filled the air, low and guttural, like wind trapped in a cave. When the lights returned, the couch was halfway across the room, and the moan became a voice, whispering from the leather itself. "It's mine." I backed toward the kitchen, the bat trembling in my grip. The door rattled again, a relentless pounding, and I saw it through the peephole, a figure, tall and stooped, its face hidden in shadow, its hands pressed against the door. The couch scraped closer, the leather rippling, as if something inside was pushing to get out. I locked myself in the kitchen, the bat clutched tight, the scraping now a deafening grind, the moan louder. "Open the door. It wants out." I stayed there, my back against the fridge, the cold metal grounding me as the scraping circled the apartment, joined by heavy, uneven footsteps. The air grew thick, heavy with that musty smell, now mixed with something coppery like blood. I didn't move until dawn, when the scraping stopped, the footsteps faded, and the apartment fell silent. I crept out, my heart pounding, and found the couch back against the wall, unmoved, but the leather was warm, almost pulsing, and the scratches on the floor formed words. "Mine." I deleted the Craigslist ad, but T kept messaging, the texts appearing even when I blocked the address. "You can't keep it. It's mine." The couch moved every night, scraping closer to the door, the leather creaking like it was breathing. I tried to burn it, dragging it to an empty lot, but the flames wouldn't catch, and it was back in my apartment by morning. The musty smell, now a stench that clung to my clothes, my skin. The figure was bolder, appearing in the hallway, its shadowed face pressed against my windows, its fingers leaving smudges that reeked of decay. I moved to a new apartment, leaving the couch behind, but it was there when I arrived, sitting in the living room, its leather gleaming under the fluorescent lights. I researched it, finding a Craigslist thread about a cursed couch that drove its owners mad, each one disappearing, their apartments filled with scratches and that same musty smell. The last owner had vanished months ago, their ad identical to mine. I contacted a priest, Father Daniel, who came to bless the apartment. He sprinkled holy water, his voice trembling as he prayed, but the couch vibrated, the leather splitting to reveal something dark and writhing inside. He fled, telling me to destroy it, but nothing worked. Fire, axes, even a junkyard compactor. The figure was always there, its whisper now a scream. "Let it go." I'm in a motel now, couch following, appearing in every room I rent. The footsteps are constant, the figure's face clearer, pale, eyeless, its mouth a gaping wound. I see it in my dreams, sitting on the couch, its hand stroking the leather, calling my name. I know it wants me to give it up, but I can't, not because I want it, but because it won't let me go. The scratches are on my walls now, forming my name, and the musty smell is in my lungs, choking me. I'd always been drawn to Craigslist's missed connections, the romantic blur of strangers chasing fleeting moments. At 27, I was a barista by day, a dreamer by night, living in a shoebox apartment that barely held my books and hopes. It was 1 a.m., and I was curled up in bed, my phone's blue light casting a ghostly glow across the room, the walls papered with sketches I'd never finished. I scrolled through the posts, each one a tiny story. Eyes met on a subway, a smile at a bookstore, until one stopped me cold. "You," in the red coat, 11 p.m., corner of 5th and Pine. "I saw you. Let's meet again." My breath caught. I'd been at that corner last night, grabbing a late coffee from the 24-hour diner, my red coat flapping in the chilly wind. The street had been empty, the neon sign flickering, no one around to notice me. My fingers trembled as I typed a reply. Was that really me? Who are you? The response was instant, chilling in its simplicity. I saw you. Meet me there tonight. Midnight. K. No details, no warmth, just an initial and a command. I should have ignored it. I knew better than to chase anonymous messages, but something about it tugged at me. A mix of curiosity and loneliness, the kind that makes you do stupid things. I pulled on my red coat, its wool scratchy against my skin, and slipped out. The night air sharp with the smell of asphalt and distant rain. The corner of 5th and Pine was a familiar haunt, a quiet intersection where the diner's glow clashed with the shadows of closed shops. I stood under the streetlight, its orange buzzing above me. My phone clutched tight, the time ticking toward midnight. The street was deserted, the air still, the only sound my own breathing. Then I heard it, a faint whistle, a lilting tune, drifting from the alley across the street. It was soft, almost playful, but it sent a shiver down my spine. I shone my phone's flashlight, the beam cutting through the dark, but the alley was empty, its brick walls slick with damp. The whistle grew louder, closer, curling around me like smoke, and I felt it, a presence, heavy and cold, watching from the shadows. Kay, I called, my voice trembling, swallowed by the night. The whistle stopped, replaced by a low chuckle, sharp and cold, echoing from the alley's depths. My heart pounded, and I stepped back, my sneakers scraping the pavement. The streetlight flickered, a stuttering pulse, and I saw it, a figure, tall and thin, stepping out from the alley. Its face was hidden, cloaked in shadow, but its eyes glinted, reflecting the light like polished mirrors. It raised a hand, beckoning, and the chuckle became a whisper. You came. I turned and ran, my coat flapping, the whisper chasing me through the empty streets. The streetlights flickered in sequence, each one dying as I passed, plunging me into darkness. The chuckle followed, joined by footsteps, soft but relentless, always just behind. I reached my apartment, my hand shaking as I fumbled the key into the lock, and slammed the door shut, my breath ragged. The chuckle stopped, but my phone buzzed, a new message from Kay. You can't hide. I see you. I turned it off, but the screen lit up again, the words scrolling on their own. I'm closer now. I stopped checking Craigslist, deleted my account, but the messages kept coming, appearing on my phone, my laptop, even scrawled on receipts I found in my pockets. The whistle followed, faint at first, like a distant melody, then louder, piercing my dreams. I saw the figure everywhere, outside my window, in the diner's reflection, its glinting eyes always watching. I moved to a new apartment, but the messages followed, describing my every move, my every thought, as if Kay was inside my head. I found a forum post about a missed connection stalker, a figure that lured people to empty streets, their fates unknown. I contacted a psychic, a woman who claimed she could banish spirits, but when she came to my apartment, the whistle turned to a scream, and she fled, saying it wasn't human, wasn't dead. It was something else, something that saw me first. I've stopped going out at night, but the figure is bolder, standing in my hallway, its chuckle shaking the walls. I know it's waiting for me to return to that corner, to answer its call, and I'm running out of places to hide. Music was my sanctuary, the one thing that kept me grounded through years of instability. At 30, I was a freelance writer, scraping by in a cluttered apartment filled with stacks of notebooks, their pages brimming with half-finished stories and song lyrics I'd never had the means to bring to life. My childhood dream of playing the piano had been buried under years of financial strain. No money for lessons, no space for an instrument. So when I saw a Craigslist ad at 1 a.m. for a free upright piano, needs tuning, pick up tonight, 82, Willow Drive, I felt a surge of hope, like a door opening to a forgotten part of myself. The poster, L, responded within minutes. Come now. Doors open. No pleasantries, no details, just an address in a quiet suburb 20 miles away. I borrowed my friend Jake's beat-up van, its engine coughing as I drove through the night, the air sharp with the scent of impending rain. Willow Drive was a winding street lined with sagging bungalows, their lawns overgrown, their windows dark. Number 82 was no different, a faded house with peeling paint, its porch light flickering like a dying firefly. The yard was a jungle of weeds, their shadows twisting in the moonlight, and the air carried a faint, acrid smell, like bleach mixed with damp earth. The front door hung ajar, swaying gently, its hinges groaning in the stillness. I called out for Elle, my voice thin against the oppressive silence, but no one answered. I stepped inside, my sneakers crunching on grit-strewn floorboards, my phone's flashlight casting a shaky beam across a foyer cluttered with broken furniture, a splintered chair, a cracked mirror leaning against the wall. The air was heavy, thick with dust and that bleach-like tang, now laced with something sweeter, like rotting flowers. I followed the beam to the living room, where the piano stood, its black lacquer chipped, its keys yellowed like old bones, yet somehow regal, its presence commanding the room. I approached, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and unease. The piano was beautiful in its decay, its carved legs etched with faded roses, the lid scarred but intact. I pressed a key, middle C, I thought, and a low, discordant note rang out, vibrating through the floor, lingering too long, like a scream trapped in the wood. I pressed another, then a third, each note sharper, twisting into a melody I didn't recognize, mournful and slow, like a funeral dirge. The air grew colder, my breath fogging in the dim light, and the melody continued, playing on its own, the keys moving faintly, as if pressed by invisible fingers. I stepped back, my flashlight trembling, and the melody grew louder, weaving through the house, the walls humming with its resonance. The shadows in the room seemed to shift, curling like smoke, and a whisper threaded through the music, soft but clear. Play with me. My skin prickled, the air now icy, and I called for Elle again, my voice cracking. The whisper came again, closer, from the piano itself. You wanted me. Play. The keys moved faster, the melody turning frantic, and I saw it. A faint shape in the corner, a woman in a tattered dress, her hair matted, her fingers hovering over the keys, bleeding onto the ivory. I should have run, but the music held me, tugging at memories of my mother's lullabies, of nights spent imagining myself at a grand piano, pouring my soul into song. I shook off the fear, telling myself it was exhaustion, and started dragging the piano toward the door. It was heavier than I'd expected, its weight resisting, the floorboards groaning as I pulled. The melody followed, louder, the whisper now a chorus. Play with me. Stay. I reached the van, my arms aching, and strapped the piano in, the keys still moving, the music echoing in the empty street. The drive home was a blur, the melody in my head, the van filled with that rotting flower smell, now mixed with something metallic, like blood. I set the piano against my living room wall, its shadow looming over my cluttered furniture, the keys gleaming under my flickering lamp. I tried to sleep, but the air felt wrong, thick and heavy, like the room was holding its breath. At 2 a.m., I woke to the melody again, unprompted, the notes sharp and insistent, shaking the walls. I grabbed my flashlight and crept out, my heart hammering. The piano's keys were moving furiously, the melody now a cacophony. And she was there, the woman, clearer now, her dress torn, her fingers dripping blood onto the keys, her eyes hollow, black pits that seemed to pull me in. I screamed, stumbling back, my flashlight clattering to the floor. The woman didn't move, her fingers flying over the keys, the melody now a dirge that rattled my bones. I grabbed a chair, swinging it at the piano, but the wood wouldn't break, the keys playing on, the music louder, filling my head with images, her face, her pain, her death. I ran to my bedroom, locking the door, but the melody seeped through the walls, the whisper now a plea. Play with me. Finish the song. I stayed awake, the music relentless, the air freezing, my breath fogging. I found an old article online, buried in a local archive. Pianist Clara, who'd lived in that house, found dead at her piano in 1973, her fingers broken, her eyes gone, as if clawed out. The article mentioned her obsession, a composition she'd never finished, driving her to madness. I tried to get rid of the piano, dragging it to a junkyard, but it was back in my apartment by morning, the keys blood-streaked, the melody louder. I moved to a new place, a cramped studio across town, but the piano followed, appearing in the corner, its presence heavier, the air thick with that rotting smell. I contacted a medium, an older woman named Rose, who came with sage and a rosary. She took one look at the piano and paled, saying it wasn't just Clara. It was the song, something she'd summoned, something that wanted to be finished. She tried a cleansing, but the piano shook, the keys slamming, and Rose fled, her rosary snapping, beads scattering across the floor. The melody is constant now, waking me every night, the woman's figure clearer, her bleeding fingers guiding mine to the keys. I've tried playing, my hand shaking, but the notes are wrong, the song incomplete, and she screams, her voice tearing through my mind. I found a notebook in my apartment, not mine, filled with Clara's handwriting, fragments of her song, each page stained with blood. I've stopped sleeping, the music in my veins, and I know she wants me to finish it, to join her in the piano, to play forever. I was 25, a college dropout with a bank account that was more hope than substance, picking up any gig to keep my tiny studio apartment. The weight of unpaid bills and a dead-end temp job at a warehouse had me scouring Craigslist at 2 a.m. My laptop's glow the only light in my cluttered room, its walls plastered with faded band posters. An ad caught my eye. Night janitor, $200 for 3 hours, no experience needed. Start tonight, 11 p.m., 400 Main Street. The pay was a lifeline, and the poster, R, seemed straightforward, replying instantly. Basement, supplies there, doors unlocked. No interview, no questions, just an address in the heart of downtown. I grabbed my jacket, the air outside sharp with the smell of diesel and rain-soaked asphalt. The office building at 400 Main was a relic, its marble facade chipped, its windows dark, reflecting the city's neon haze. The lobby was deserted, the air stale with mold and the faint bitterness of old coffee left in forgotten mugs. A note taped to the glass door read, "Janitor, go to basement. Supplies there," in shaky handwriting. I tried the number from the ad, disconnected, the dial tone flat and final. My stomach twisted, but the promise of $200 pushed me forward. I pushed open the door, its hinges screeching, and stepped inside, my flashlight beam cutting through the gloom, illuminating dust motes that hung like ghosts. The lobby was silent, the elevators dead, their buttons unlit. A sign pointed to the basement stairs, and I descended, each step creaking, the air growing colder, heavier, like sinking into a pool of ink. The basement was a maze of concrete corridors, their walls slick with black mold, the air thick with a damp, earthy smell that clung to my throat. Locked doors lined the halls, their handles rusted, some scratched as if clawed. I found the supplies, a mop, a bucket, a bottle of cleaner, stacked in a corner, covered in a layer of dust, so thick it looked deliberate, like a shroud. I started mopping, the slosh of water echoing, the floor gritty under my boots, but the silence was broken by a tapping, faint at first, like fingers brushing glass, coming from a door at the end of the hall. The tapping grew louder, rhythmic, insistent, and I froze, my mop dripping, the water pooling like blood. I shone my flashlight at the door, frosted glass, its surface cloudy, etched with faint scratches. A shadow moved behind it, tall and thin, its edges blurred like smoke, pressing against the pane. A whisper joined the tapping, soft but piercing. "Help me." My heart slammed against my ribs, and I called out, "Who's there?" The whisper became a scream, shrill and desperate, and the door rattled, as if something was clawing to break through. The air grew colder, my breath fogging, and the shadow's fingers stretched, long and claw-like, scratching the glass, leaving marks that glistened like tears. I backed away, my boots slipping on the wet floor, but the corridors twisted, looping back to the same door, the shadow clearer now. Its form humanoid but wrong, its limbs too long, its head tilting at an impossible angle. The scream formed my name, drawn out like a curse, and I ran, dropping the mop, the tapping following, echoing in every wall, every door. I stumbled through the maze, my flashlight flickering, the air thick with mold and something sharper, like blood. The stairs appeared, and I scrambled up, but the lobby door was locked, the note now blank except for one word scrawled in red: stay. I pounded on the glass, my fists aching, screaming for help, but the building was silent, the city outside oblivious. The tapping grew louder, a deafening rhythm that shook the walls, the shadow's claws scraping closer. It screamed, now a chorus, calling my name. I hid in a closet, the air thick with mold and fear, the tapping circling. The shadows formed visible through the slats, its fingers glistening with something wet. I clutched my flashlight, its beam weak, and waited, the hours crawling until dawn. When the tapping stopped, the door unlocked, and the shadow vanished. I fled, but the ad was gone, the building listed as abandoned. I found a forum post about a janitor hired through a Craigslist ad, disappearing in that basement. Their screams heard in the walls years later. I quit gig work, moved to a new apartment, but the tapping follows, faint at first, then louder, shaking my windows. The shadow appears in every glass surface, my mirror, my phone, even puddles, its claws reaching, its scream my name. I contacted a paranormal investigator, who said the building was a trap, a place where something waited for workers it could claim. I've stopped looking at reflections, but the shadow is closer. It's tapping in my head, calling me back to the basement, to stay forever. At 28, I was a rideshare driver, my life a blur of late-night fares and gas station coffee, trying to save enough to move out of my shared apartment. The grind was relentless, but a Craigslist ad for a private ride, $500 to drive someone 40 miles out of the city at 2 a.m., was a game changer. The poster, sent a pickup spot, a gas station on the edge of town, its neon sign flickering like a warning. I pulled up, the lot empty, the air thick with gasoline and the sharp tang of pine from the nearby woods. At 2:01, a figure appeared, tall and hooded, sliding into the back seat without a word, their face hidden in the shadow of a heavy cloak. I confirmed the address, a farm in the middle of nowhere, its coordinates vague, and started driving, the road narrowing into a ribbon of asphalt swallowed by dense trees. My GPS glitched, the screen flickering, its voice stuttering. I glanced in the rearview mirror, but the figure's face was a blur, like a smeared photograph, its edges shimmering unnaturally. "You okay back there?" I asked, my voice tight, the silence pressing against me. No response, just a low hum, like static from a broken radio, filling the car, vibrating in my chest. The air turned cold, my breath fogging the windshield, and the hum became a whisper, low and guttural. "Keep driving." My hands tightened on the wheel, the leather creaking, the road stretching endlessly, the trees closing in, their branches scraping the car like claws. I checked the mirror again, and the figure's face was clearer, pale, eyeless, its mouth a gaping hole that seemed to swallow the light. The car swerved, the tires screeching on the wet asphalt, and the figure leaned forward, its breath cold on my neck, smelling of damp earth and decay. I slammed on the brakes, but the pedals were dead, the car accelerating, the speedometer climbing past 80, 90, the road blurring into a black void. The whisper was in my head now, chorus of voices, overlapping, relentless. "You're mine," I screamed, yanking the wheel, but the car didn't respond, and I saw them, other figures, eyeless, lining the road, their mouths open, humming in unison, their cloaks flapping like wings. The car shook, the hum deafening, the air thick with that decaying smell, and I felt a pull, like the road was dragging me into another place, a darkness I'd never escape. My hands trembled, my vision blurring, and the figures reached out, their fingers brushing the windows, leaving streaks of something black and wet. I don't know how I survived. I woke in my car, parked at the gas station, The figure gone. The dashboard clock frozen at 2:01. The address was invalid, the ad deleted. But the hum followed, faint at first, like a distant engine, then louder, shaking my apartment walls. The eyeless figures appeared in every reflective surface, my rearview mirror, my bathroom sink, even the polished countertop at the coffee shop. Their gaping mouths whispering my name. I found a Craigslist thread about a driver who'd taken a similar job. Their car found empty on a road that didn't exist, their belongings stained with black ooze. I sold my car, moved to a new city. But the hum is constant, the figures lining every street, their cloaks flapping in a wind I can't feel. I contacted a local priest, who blessed my new place. But the hum turned to a scream, and he fled, saying it was something ancient, something that claimed drivers who strayed too far. I've stopped driving, but the figures are closer, their fingers leaving black streaks on my windows, their whispers in my dreams, pulling me back to that endless road, to drive with them forever.